We're ready for our speaker for tonight, our keynote speaker. And the person that will be introducing her is a friend of hers. And she's also the talent of our singer. All right. So I'm going to introduce the mother of the Kakumba Soul Band. So I had to get that in. They're not here tonight, just one of the members is here. And for some technical reasons, they're not here. But they were birthed, this organization kind of gave birth to them 5 years ago. They were the first musical group. And so tonight, we asked Ms. Anthony to come and introduce our speaker. And our speaker come.
Hi, I'm Louise Campbell Anthony, yes, the mother of number 10, number 4, number 3. But I'm also a very dear friend of our guest speaker tonight.
Yes, you are.
I think we go way back. I know we were at least 8 or 9. I remember 4th grade. She might have to clear this up for me, but if I remember correctly, and we were sitting there talking, and both of our memories are kind of fuzzy. I remember correctly, our relationship started with her bullying me. Y'all may not believe it, but I think that's how we started. But from there, we became very, very good friends. And it wasn't just us. And our motto in 9th grade was, we were the awesome foursome until we are dead. I think that we had a little chant. Divided we stand, united we stand, divided we fall. We tight like pantyhose, two-sided small. It was Weezy, Dee Dee, Robin, and Kathy. We're the awesome foursome until we are dead. So the other 2 aren't here. But Deidre Lewis was one of our awesome foursome in 9th grade, and Kathy Williams was the other one in 9th grade. And we was really tight through school. And we all went our separate ways and did our different things. But the one thing about Robin, the other thing Robin did for me is led me to the faith, my faith in Christ. I started going to Rehoboth Mennonite Church because of Robin. And now she's Robinzina, but I know her as Robin back then. But one thing about her is her spirit. She's just a gentle, very sincere heart. And I know people that come in contact with her will see the sincereness and the genuineness about her and how she cares about people. And she's gone through a lot of changes in her life. But the one thing I know that has kept her through all those hard changes, she'll probably share some of those very critical things that's happened in her life. The one thing that has kept her through all of those challenges was her faith in God. And she is a living testimony of what your faith in God can do for you. It's brought her from death to life, literally. And she might share a little bit of that story with you. But even though Robin and I are distant in miles, she lives Tenley Park still, Flossmoor, and I live out here in the country still. It's like our hearts are still together, no matter how many miles are between us. And anybody that begins a relationship with her will always feel that type of tightness and that type. I can call her right now, and it's like we haven't lost anything in that relationship because of the sincerity that's there. That was then, but this is now. If you look in our program, we have our little bio of what she's done or what she's doing for herself, her family. I want to mention this one thing, because when I mention her family, this is a special thing, and she really doesn't know how she really affects me, and how I view her and how I look at her life. She became a mother very young. She picture, 22. She became a mother of her brother, her sister, of her sister Marsha, not my brother, of her sister Marsha when her mother had passed away. And for someone 22, going to college, trying to get your life, on the path that you want to set for yourself, to make that sacrifice, to take on a child at 22 and in college, that's a sacrifice. And that's the type of heart that she has. And her grandson sitting right there beside her, that's the type of heart that Robinzina has. And I'm blessed. I've always been blessed to have known her, even during the years of bullying. I've always been blessed to have known her, and I always treasure her, a special place in my heart all these years, no matter how many miles it is between us. But right now, she's an attorney. She was born and raised in Hopkins.
You don't have to read all this stuff.
I'm not going to read all that. I'm not. But I just want to introduce you to what she is, who she is now. And I see down here she was the co-valedictorian of our grade school class. And the other valedictorian was Kathy, right? Yeah, Kathy, which was our little clique. And then I was the salutatorian, so we was all up there. And Deidre was up there, number 4. So we did share a lot of things together. We shared a lot of the common values and things like that. And I can't wait to hear what she has to share with us tonight, because every time she opens her mouth, she has a word of wisdom. She has something sincere, something to touch us, something to make you look at life a little bit different. So I want to present to you Robinzina Bryant, our guest speaker for tonight.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Thank you for the invitation. And I want to acknowledge some folks at my table. Louise already told you just about everything I would have said about her. I'm thankful for her. I also have my godmother. You guys probably know her as Willamette Overbody, but it's Olumide. Did I get that right, Mama? I call her Mama O. And my god aunt, Bertha Mundy. When I think about this topic tonight, links to the past, paving the way for future generations, they have been my links and my pavement. They have celebrated my life. When I think of every milestone that I've accomplished in life, these 2 women have been there. And I mean everything. I can look in a crowd and see them and know that it's going to be okay. If I'm feeling a little nervous or whatever, I can look at those 2 women. And I'm not blood related to either of them, but I feel like I am. I know that biology does not constitute family. Because those women are my family. And I thank you so much for being here and just for the encouragement that you've given me through the years. And I remember when I was a teenager, and I know I'm off subject a little bit. I remember when I was a teenager, my godmother, she made a pact with me about just sexual purity. She said, I'm going to make this pact with you. If you stay pure, I'm going to stay pure. She said, we're going to check in with each other. So she made me govern myself as a woman, as a lady, to take care of my purity. And I thank you for that. And she still kind of checks in every now and again. And my Aunt Bertha, she is a wonderful baker, and I'm sure, I just like by straw hand, how many of you all have had some of her baked goods Bertha Monday? If you haven't, you need to, I hope she brought some cards, or because she can really throw down. But, so thank you again for the invitation. The topic today is links to the past, paving the way for future generations. And I'd like to start with a poem. I wrote this poem probably 2 years ago. I've had it copyrighted, but I've never shared it publicly. It's deeply personal, but I think it was saved for such a time as this. It's called Hopkins Park, Illinois. I thought you were my former hometown. A rural ghetto, yeah, that's what you are. I came to you at 4 years old, an impressionable age for sure. You were the hideaway for my newly divorced alcoholic mother. You uncovered my innocence. I watched your economic oppression swallow people whole. My childhood was stolen. I was molested there, again and again. My dreams, too, were almost stolen. I hate you. I love you. You shape me. Country living, farming, fishing, horseback riding, and camping. Because of you, I know what homegrown, farm fresh, and unpolluted air really are. Rehoboth Mennonite Church, and Lorenzo R. Smith School, my two safe havens, wisely, two life anchors wisely required by my mother. A relationship with God recalibrated the trajectory of my life. A valuing of education provided my life with options. What a difference a teacher can make. 4th grade, inspired. 5th grade, humiliated and broken. 6th grade, re-inspired and reinvented. 7th grade, a terror to my teacher. 8th grade, equipped to fly. After 1 year at St. Anne Community High School, an opportunity came to leave you for a better education. I ran, coming back only temporarily. You had terrorized me enough. I never planned to call you home again, but I cannot forget you, and I keep you close by. Looking back, you made me. You made me struggle to survive. You made me hungry for change. You made me yearn for more. You made me pray. You made me try. You made me never, never give up. College, graduate school, and law school, I represent for Hopkins Park. You are tougher than Inglewood and harsher than Garfield Park. I am not ashamed of you. You are forever my hometown. So that's my story. That's my history. And some of it's pretty dramatic. But it's a story of survival and overcoming obstacles. And every one of us here has a story. Something that shaped us. And how do we take these, our stories, some negative, some positive, and everything in between, these links to our past, and how do we pave a way for future generations with these stories? I think a big part of it is as simple as sharing our stories, sharing the life lessons that we've learned along the way. And our life lessons, if they're heard and if they're heeded, they can be used to navigate the currents of life that the future generations are sure to encounter. Amen? I'm a church girl, so if you say amen, I'm all right with that. So today I want to spend a little time just sharing some life lessons that I've learned along the way. And I just want to share 3 of them. There are lots more, but I just want to share 3 that have helped me along the journey of my life. Lesson number 1 is your discipline determines your destiny. Lesson number 2 is you reap what you sow. And lesson number 3 is just keep living. Lesson 1, discipline determines your destiny. A lot of folks want some things out of life, but not a lot of folks are willing to do the work to achieve the things that they want. So discipline, what is it? Webster defines it as training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties or moral character. So from that definition, what I take from that is that you can have good discipline, bad discipline, or no discipline. And the one you have is your choice. See, life really is about choices. How many of you know that? Sometimes we don't have a lot of control about the environment in which we're born into, but we always have choices as to how we'll respond within that environment. There's a famous quote that I love. It says, you sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, and you reap a habit. You sow a habit, and you reap a character. You sow a character, and you reap a destiny. All of the things leading up to the reaping of your destiny, our destiny, is determined by what sort of choices that we make. And again, life is full of choices. So the choices that we make early in life, they go with us for the rest of our lives. Those choices become the makeup of our destiny and our character. All we see, hear, and experience, it lays the foundation for who we become as adults, depending on how we choose to respond to those things and how we allow them to impact us, whether we choose to accept them or reject them. So I want you all to take a minute right now and take a look at your life up to now and ask yourself the following questions. What kind of life are you currently living as a result of your past choices? Do you have more memories than you have dreams? And do you live in the past, or do you look forward to your future? Take a minute. If you were listening to the opening poem, you notice that I moved to Hopkins. I said that at 4 years old. My mom and I, for all practical purposes, we were sharecroppers for a great deal of my time in Hopkins. We lived in other people's homes. We lived on other people's land. And we had to work for our survival on that land. We worked the land. Mama did a lot of cooking. I did a lot of chores in exchange for our room and board. And I see some older folks in the crowd, just a few, and just to mention a few names. And all these people have deceased, but some of you may know these names. We lived with Bob Mitchell. I don't know if any of you remember Bob Mitchell. We lived with Bertha Tignan. We lived on her land. I got a lot of chicken eggs off her land. I churned butter, and I milked the cows. We only had 1 cow. I built a lot of moonshine bottles from Bertha. How many of you all knew Bertha Tignan? Anybody in the room knew Bertha Tignan? Okay? And J.D. Miller, that was where I spent a large portion of my time on the pig farm. So I worked hard. I had chores I had to do before school, and I had chores that I had to do after school from the age of 5 to 13. At the age of 13, I think between maybe 12 and 13, my mother went back to school so she could provide a better life for us. And she had us a house built. So that inspired me as a young person to see my mother, pull herself up and better her life. So I was being disciplined, back to discipline. I was being disciplined in some of the ways that I lived. Some discipline was intentional. I knew that I'd better do those chores or else Mom and I would be homeless and we didn't have a place to live. And she would live in Woodlands, and I would have gotten born if I didn't do those chores. And I gained structure. The unintentional discipline I got was I gained structure by having a set schedule. I had to get up early, and then I had that second round of chores that I had to get done by a certain time. And some of the discipline I gained was bad discipline. I was exposed to way too much growing up, and my mother and I, we were totally dependent on other people for our survival. Until she, again, decided to go back to school and better herself in order to build a better life for us. But from a very young age, I made some decisions. And my decisions were based on how I was living at the time. It was based on all I saw, heard, experienced, and the friends I had, the books I read, the farm work I did, up to that point in my life. And all of those things, they impacted the decision I made. And those decisions, they formed a foundation for my destiny and my character to date. And I say to date because my last chapter has not yet been written. And from how I was living, I knew how I didn't want to live. And I knew I didn't want to be poor. I didn't have to be rich. I just wanted to be successful, as the young lady said. But I didn't base that success on a number. I just knew I didn't want to be poor. And as a child, poor to me meant being dependent on somebody else for my very survival. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I wanted to learn how to be self-sufficient. And I learned early in life that education is a great equalizer. It still is. It was then. It still is. And I was a smart kid. And in the books. And really, when I was bullying Louise, you all, I really just wanted her to be my friend because I know some things about her. But I just didn't know how to ask her to be my friend. But her big sister, Cecilia, she set me real straight. So that's when the bullying stopped. But I enjoyed learning. And I determined in 5th grade that I was going to graduate as valedictorian of my class. I knew that I was going to be top of my class. I made that decision in 5th grade, and I decided to do the work to accomplish the goal. And reaching that goal, it really set the foundation for my educational journey. It really did. I just made a decision, and I decided to do the work, to discipline myself to do the schoolwork to reach that decision. So making a decision, you guys, is as simple and easy as rolling up your sleeves. I want everybody in here to roll up your sleeves. Now, I have to read without my glasses, but I can't see you really unless I put them on past the second row. So I want everybody in here to roll up your sleeves. If you can't roll up your sleeves, roll up something, your pants leg, your shorts. Just roll something. So rolling up something, rolling up your sleeves, rolling up your pants, whatever you got to roll, it's symbolic of preparing to do some work. So when you roll up your sleeves, it's symbolic of preparing to do some work. So if you're willing to do work, if you're willing to work, then better is always possible. Isn't that right? Yeah. So young people, how many young people I got in the room? And when I say young people, I know that. But the school-age people. If you don't like the grades you're getting, what you gonna do? Let me hear you. What you gonna do? Roll up your sleeves. Isn't that right? Young people, if you want to have a better relationship with your parents or your friends, what you gonna do? Adults. If you don't like the job that you land, what you gonna do?
Roll up your sleeves.
And everybody, if you don't like your current situation, what you gonna do?
Roll up your sleeves.
All right? And if people say you can't make it, what you gonna do?
Roll up your sleeves.
All right? We're gonna roll up our sleeves. That's the difference. A little bit of work. That's the difference. Lesson 2 for me was you reap what you sow. I've already given you a great quote, but I want to give it to you again because I want you to remember it. If you sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. You sow a character, you reap a destiny. Because I grew up farming, reaping and sowing was an agricultural experience for me that I saw up close and personal. Sowing is just planting something for growth, a seed or a crop. And sowing then it's the setting of something in motion. It's a beginning. The thing about sowing is that you always reap, which means to gather a product of that which you've sown. You reap the harvest of your beginning. You reap later, and you reap greater than what you've sown. Tonight, I want you to think about sowing and reaping in terms of discipline, habits, thoughts, behaviors you're engaged in, books you've read, television shows you've watched, and friends you hang out with. And this is for the young people and the old people, and everything in between. The jobs you've worked, your successes and your failures, your significant others, your faith or your lack of faith, and anything else that shapes and forms your life. I want you to think about these things because these are the things that have shaped and formed your character and your destiny today. All of those choices you made early in your lives have brought you to where you are now and will go with you for the rest of your life. So whatever is planted in our lives, it reaps up. Whatever is planted in our lives as children and as youth, it becomes the seed of the things that we reap as adults. All this planet reaps a harvest, unless, of course, there's a crop failure. And those of you that farm, you understand that. And remember, the harvest that comes later, and it's always greater. Let me give you an illustration just to bring that home. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a peach pit. This is one of my most favorite summer fruits. I love peaches. But if I planted this pit, it would take 3 to 5 years for a tree to produce fruit from this pit. So that's just an illustration. I could plant this today, and I might not see any results. I might not see them for a long, long time. It doesn't mean that I don't have results coming, but they're coming. So what's planted, you reap a harvest later and greater. And when this comes up, I'm going to have more than just one peach. Hopefully, if I fertilize it well and prune it well and everything else I need to do to it. But later and greater for everything that's planted in our lives. So even though they don't show up immediately, it's coming. Amen. So all along the way, through the years, those things have been sowed, and they've been growing, and they help to make us who we become. So again, I'd like folks to just take a moment to review your life. What have you sowed? What have you seen the harvest of? Do you like it? Do you need to do some rolling up your sleeves and do some work to change some things that you've seen? For me personally, I sowed into my relationship with God, and I sowed into my education. Those were my most important priorities growing up. I disciplined myself to read the Bible, to pray daily, and to learn at least one new thing every day. And it didn't have to be some great, huge thing, but it had to be something new that I learned every day, and I still try to practice that discipline. So as we pave a way for future generations, we've got to be real with them about the things that went right in our lives, and the things that worked well, and the things that didn't work so well. The good planning and the bad planning, so to speak. And, really, to be real, the young people, there's a saying that you can't kid a kid. They see the proof of your life. They see the what do they say? The proof is in the pudding. So they see the fruit. They see it, So, and I didn't know a lot of things about my mother's past, my father's past, because that generation, they just didn't share a whole lot. But for our future generations, these kids are wiser now. They got all this technology. They got everything, But for us to encourage them, to pave a way for them, let's be real with them about the things that worked well, the things that didn't work well. And some kids learn great vicariously. Some got to try to fire for themselves. But let's pave a way for them and share with them our experiences so they can be vicarious learners and as much as they can to avoid some of the fire. I've even told my 6-year-old grandson, Michael, that it's important, and this is important for us as we pave the way for future generations, to think about situations before you find yourself in them and make some decisions ahead of time about how you're going to handle them, because it's kind of hard in the midst of that situation not to cave into pressure. So young people, I want you to make some decisions now about what you allow to be planted in your life and the things that you can control, because again, some things you can control and some things you can't. And that which you cannot control, I want you to not allow it to impact you negatively. Because you can choose to receive it or reject it. Sometimes if you hear something long enough, you start to believe it. But you've got to have some positive messages that you send to yourself, that you tell yourself. Because this society, they won't tell you all the positive messages that you need in order to have a firm foundation to make it in this life. The final life lesson is just keep living. When I was young, there was something that the old folks used to say, just keep living. And one day I heard myself say it to my daughter, and I realized that I done became one of those. But I would ask that question, and they would never answer the question. just keep living. What? You know, but the answer never came. But as I've lived my life, I'm a tad bit wiser now. I realize that the answer to that question is just in the living. And that question can be answered a whole lot of different ways. But the one I want to talk to you about today is just keep living, and you'll learn that life isn't always fair. You can do all the right things, you can plant all the right seed, and you can still have disaster strike. But we must learn to take the good and the bad and maximize it all for our benefit. I want to say that again. We got to learn to take the good and the bad and maximize it all for our benefit. After graduating from law school 3 years afterwards, I joined the FBI as a special agent. And FBI stands for Federal Bureau of Investigation, in case anybody don't know that word, what that stands for. It's not anybody that you really want to meet. You know, if you meet the FBI, you're usually in trouble. So, that's what that stands for. And Mama O, that's what I call them, so everybody. And Bertie, they were there at my graduation in Quantico at the FBI Academy. Thank you again. That's my village, part of my village. But to become an FBI agent is really tough. You go through a whole lot of background. They even talked to my 8th grade teacher when they were doing our background investigation, so they wanted to know what kind of student I was. So watch the planning, you all, watch the planning. I'm glad they didn't go to 7th grade. So academy was tough, and we had a polygraph. We had, that's before I even got to academy, we had a polygraph, and we had, I think, 2 phases of interviews, and then academy was 4 months. And I loved the FBI. I loved the experience. It was a dream job. It's nothing like a black person with a badge. It was wonderful. And I thought I would ride it out for the 20 years, but something unexpected happened. I got sick. I got really, really ill. One day I actually was a picture of health, and the next day I was on my deathbed, literally. I was diagnosed in 2005 with a disease called lupus, and it would take me a whole other visit to tell you the whole story, so I'm going to give you the quick and dirty version. I was diagnosed with lupus. It's an autoimmune disease, and then I contracted a MRSA infection, and the MRSA actually ate up all the cartilage in my hands and my wrists, and I, to date, have had 16 surgeries on my hands. After my 4th surgery, the hospital that I was at, and it was a well-known research hospital in Chicago, they told me that there was nothing more they could do for my hands and that I needed to prepare my mind to have bilateral amputations and get fitted for prosthetics. And I knew it was time for a second opinion. So I switched hospitals, and the orthopedic that I saw, he said, Zina, I think I can save your hands. He says it's going to be a long road. And we started that 5th operation, and I had 12 with him so far. And so that was, I had 4 at the previous hospital. We had my 5th, it went smooth as butter. My 6th operation, while they were prepping me for surgery, the anesthesiologist put the medication in the wrong chamber, and it went into my heart. I had a seizure, and then I went into full-blown cardiac arrest. I was gone for 20 minutes, and they CPR'd me for 20 minutes, and they electric paddled me 3 times, and they still didn't get me back. And then they packed me on ice, and they told me that when they packed me on ice, after they got me completely covered, because what they were doing was putting me in a state of clinical hypothermia. Any nurses in the room, by the way? They were putting me into a state of clinical hypothermia because they were trying to delay any brain damage if, in fact, I would come back. And medically, after 4 or 5 minutes, you suffer brain damage. After 15 minutes, it's almost impossible to get you back. After 20 minutes, you are sure to have some irreversible brain damage. Now, my family, they may say I might have a little bit of that. Now, a lot of folks always want to know, did I see a great light? What happened to you while you were out those 20 minutes? Did you see a great light? I did not see a bright light. But the most important part of that story is that I did not see fire, so I'm grateful for that. So after that heart attack, that cardiac arrest, I went on and I had more surgeries with that doctor because I needed to use my hands. And I'm grateful to say that I got pretty good use of my hands. I do have prosthetic wrists. You know how most people get knee replacements? I have wrist replacements. And but I thank God that I still have my hands to raise and praise it. In March of 2007, my doctor told me that I would never be able to be a special agent again because I couldn't handle my weaponry with my hands. And I remember sitting in my doctor's office and just crying. And my doctor, he's a little Jewish man, my orthopedic, his name is Daniel Mass. He's one of the top 10 surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, hand surgeons in the world, in the country. He sat there and he cried with me, and at that moment my doctor became my friend. We are good friends to this day. But, you know, it was just the impact of just really realizing that I wouldn't be able to any longer do the work that I love because I really enjoyed being an agent. 1 month after that sad news, lupus took my kidneys, and I had kidney failure. I went to full-blown renal failure, and I started dialysis in April of 2007. And I was not physically able to work from 2006 to 2008 because of all the things that had happened in my body. I had lupus, I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had congestive heart failure, and now kidney failure. And I qualified for disability at that point, but that was not the future that I envisioned for myself. Now, the thing about dialysis is that it's such a depressing disease. How many of you have loved ones that you are aware of that have experienced dialysis or kidney failure? Dialysis is a real depressing diagnosis because you see your future. You come into the dialysis center walking. But soon, you see the people around you that came here walking on a walker. And then you see them in a wheelchair. And then you see them come in on a stretcher. And then you don't see them anymore, and you know that they've passed on. So you see your future every day at the dialysis center. So if you were to just focus there, you could go into a deep depression. So I needed something to take my mind off of my current circumstances. So what do you think I did at that point? I rolled up my sleeves. And I enrolled in a prep course for the bar exam in Illinois. I was barred in Michigan, but I had joined the girls within 3 years. And after 5 years, you earn something called reciprocity, and you don't have to sit for another bar. But since I only had 3 years in, I had to sit for another bar. So what I would do, you guys, is after dialysis, I had a 5:30 chair sitting in dialysis. After dialysis, I would come in and I would take a nap. I would get up and I'd get me some lunch. And then I get myself to the train station. I take a 45-minute ride to downtown Chicago, and then I get on a bus to Kent Law School, and I sat for a prep class from like 4:30 to 9 o'clock at night. Get back on the train, I get back up and I do it all over again. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday was my dialysis schedule, so I had 2 breaks in between on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I rolled up my sleeve because if you're willing to do a little work, that is possible. And again, I needed to have something to refocus my attention off of the situation that I was in. And so I passed the bar, and then I got even braver. I started a law firm. I started a law firm in 2009. Not knowing if I would live, to see it, but I knew that I wanted a future, and I knew I needed something to focus on. So I told you that during that heart attack, that cardiac arrest, it was 20 minutes. When I woke up, one of the first things I thought about you all was that I didn't have a will in place. Didn't have a will in place. And so that set the seed for the type of legal work that I would do, because the type of work that I do is estate planning. I do probate, I handle people's estate when they die, and I write wills and trusts, powers of attorney and guardianship, because I figured there were other people out there like me who were not prepared in the event that death would come. So that planted the seed for the work that I do. And in October of 2011, after 4.5 years on dialysis, I received a kidney. Unbeknownst to me, I had a cousin that was testing for compatibility for me. And I thank God that all has gone well since my transplant. And one of my cousins, she gave me the gift of life. She made the ultimate sacrifice and gave me the gift of life. I didn't ask any of my family members. And some of them had tested, but they were not a match. But this cousin, she tested, and she was a match. And I'm so grateful. And Mama O and Aunt Bertha, they were there for that. So I think that we must tell the future generations our stories. We've got to tell them, you guys. We've got to tell them that, it ain't always going to be easy. And, the things that we see in the media, I call television, I say that it tells you a vision. It tries to tell you a vision. It'll try to tell you how to live, what to eat, what to drive, what to buy, all that stuff. But we've got to give our young folks a vision. We've got to tell them a vision of who they can be and how far they can go, and that the sky's the limit if they're willing to roll up their sleeves and do a little work. We must share with them our disappointments. We must share with them our successes. And we must be their greatest cheerleaders to applaud them on. And we must press upon them that you never give up, you never quit, and you finish strong. And I want to end just like I started. I want to end with a poem. I didn't write this one. It's not going to be as dramatic as the first one. generations. And even though I didn't write this, I did a little creative liberties to modernize its language a little bit. It's called Let the Children Laugh. And I wish I had memorized all my stuff like you did, young lady. You did an awesome job. So send me out this way. And it's called Let the Children Laugh, and it's by Walter Wangerman. Let the children laugh and be glad. They haven't got long before the world assaults them, so allow them genuine laughter now. Laugh with them till tears run down their faces, till you make a memory of pure delight and build a precious relationship, a relationship that is indestructible, personal, and forever. Soon enough, there'll be faces unreasonably enraged. Soon enough, they'll be accused of things they did not do. Soon enough, they will suffer guilt at the hands of powerful people who can't accept their own guilt and who must dump it, therefore, on the weak. In that day, the children must be strengthened by self-confidence so they can resist the criticism of fools. But self-confidence begins in the experience of childhood. So give your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, the dear ones, children of your neighbors and your community, give them golden days, their own pure days in which they are so clearly and dearly beloved, and that they believe in love and in their own particular work when love shall seem in short supply hereafter. Give them laughter. Observe each child with individual attention to learn what triggers the guileless laugh in each. Is it a story, a game, certain family traditions, excursions, elaborate fantasies, simple winks? What? What is it? Do that thing. Because the laughter that is so easy in childhood must echo its encouragement a long, long time, a lifetime. Thank you.
Very, very good. I remember Pastor